Good afternoon and welcome to today's session on Maker's Take, Mr. Vishal Shah on BLACKbox. I am Prasanna, co-host of the event today. Let me introduce today's presenter, Mr. Vishal Shah, CEO and co-founder of Cinesoft Technologies. He has over 18 years of experience and expertise of IT industry. He is known as seasoned technology stalwart, an inventor of specific patented technologies, a writer, a serial entrepreneur, an investor, and most importantly, a go-to guy for MSMEs. We also have Mr. Sudhir Chaube, co-founder of Cinesoft in the panel. He looks after the commercial aspect of our organization. Vishal Shah will speak about his brainchild BLACKbox. Who else can describe it better than the maker himself? He will demonstrate all the features of BLACKbox himself. The webinar is meant for SME owners and senior IT professionals. He will be hands-on about how BLACKbox proves to be the most cost-effective and simple solution for MSMEs. If you have any questions while you watch this demonstration, kindly write in the question and answer tab in the bottom of your Zoom login. The panel will take up the questions at the end of the session. Alternatively, in case you want to ask any question in the end of the session, you may please raise your hand. We shall activate your microphone to ask the question. Vishal sir, can you please take it ahead from here?
Thanks, Prasanna. Good afternoon to all the attendees and panel members. So I had a slight dispute with the content creation team at Cinesoft about the title of this particular webinar, and they gave the title as Maker's Take. So I would be very humble, and I would like to make sure that it is not misunderstood. It is not a maker's take. Basically, there is an entire team of Cinesoft over last 15 years that has worked very hard to make this particular product successful in MSME segment, and very well established technology in MSME segment. So nothing to take away from the team. It was just a title, and I will try my best to explain what we have done over a period of time and how BLACKbox is useful for MSMEs. So today we are going to discuss certain problems which we identified, which were very much common in MSME sector. We identified those problems, and our innovative instinct motivated us to find the solutions of those problems. And then we deployed those solutions. Some solutions were successful, some solutions were not successful. That motivated us to even improve and innovate further on the solutions to those problems. And over a period of 15 years, we could solve most of those problems in a very effective manner, in very cost-effective manner also, in very dependable manner also. And that has given us a treasure of use cases, which I'm also going to share with you. So today, how we are going to take this particular presentation webinar is I'm going to explain the problems we identified. I'm going to explain the solutions which we identified and we innovated continuously. And then we'll see some use cases. I'm going to be supported by our technical team at Cinesoft. They have already connected one BLACKbox live, and we also have connected a few desktops and laptops which are installed with BLACKbox agent. So we will also see hands-on the interface. We'll also see what is the impact of certain configurations in BLACKbox. So this is how we are planning to take this forward. In case you have any questions, you can click on this Q&A in the Zoom palette and write your question. We'll answer all the questions and answers in the end. So let us first understand what is BLACKbox. Okay, so I will mention some sort of history. When we started this particular company, we had a vision in our mind, and that particular vision was based on our observations. what we observed that MSME is going to be very, very important sector of the economy. MSME, and now it is realized also. MSME is the largest employment creator, largest exporter, largest taxpayer. So MSME, we visualize that would be the most prominent and important part of our economy. And they would be competing on global standards. As we all know, MSMEs are either suppliers to large enterprises or they are, exporters. In both types of businesses, they are competing on global standards. So we visualize that they will be forced and compelled to adopt information technology to its latest form. And we visualize that the availability of IT talent was always a challenge with MSME, and that is also a challenge right now also, because IT talent does not aspire to work with MSMEs. They just want to work with large companies. And MSMEs cannot afford the current cost of IT resources. So in those days, we visualize that there has to be a DIY product, do it yourself kind of product, and that product should be effective, and that should be giving them the features which they require, not hundreds of features out of which only 20 features are required. In those days, whatever solutions were available in IT industry, those solutions were very complex, and they were designed keeping in mind large enterprises, and large enterprises had very good access to IT talent. So those solutions were feature rich. Those solutions required IT talent to interface, configure, and deploy and maintain, which was not a case with MSMEs. So we had a vision that there should be a very simple product for MSMEs, and they should get what they want, and their problem should be effectively solved. And that is how we visualize that there should be single hardware, single software product in any MSME network. MSME cannot afford to have 8, 9 different hardware in terms of servers, storage, switches, firewalls, whatever. They cannot have so many hardware and so many software. So our design thinking had this particular line that we need to have single hardware, single software product. So we always worked, researched on that, and we made it possible. So BLACKbox is basically a single hardware and single software and single agent product. You don't need to procure multiple hardware. You don't need to install multiple agents on your computers, or you don't need to use multiple software to integrate with each other. If you put BLACKbox on cloud, or if you use BLACKbox on cloud, it becomes one agent, and it is solution for multiple function. So it is one cloud, it is one agent, one service, which is solution for multiple problems. So what are the components of the BLACKbox? So when it is placed on premise, the components of the BLACKbox are two. One is the agent, which is installed on Windows computer, and the other one is console. The console is basically a software, and it acts as a server, and that particular software acts as a server. We call it a console, and a storage device. So there would be memory also. So BLACKbox comes in various models, like 12 user model, 20 user model, 50 user models, 40 user model, 70 user model, like that. So there are hardware models. So there are three components. One is agent installed on the client. Another is console, which is inbuilt on the storage, and third is storage itself. If the BLACKbox is deployed on cloud, then you have agent, of course, which is installed on the laptop or desktop, Windows based. The console is on the cloud, and the storage is also on the cloud. So when it is deployed on cloud, it is agent, console, and cloud storage. So either of that is possible, but the bottom line is that it has to be single integrated solution. So you don't need to integrate so many different IT systems. And this is the concept that MSMEs, we understand that IT is not MSME's business. So it has to be as simple as possible, and we have tried to make it as simple as possible. Now, what does the agent act as? Then agent acts as a device hardening agent. It also acts as a force centralization agent. It also acts as an automatic backup. It also acts as a remote application access agent. It also acts as a VPN client, and it acts as an endpoint control. You don't need to have multiple agent. Like you want to take cloud backup, install a agent of some software, so cloud backup agent company. Then you need endpoint control. Then again install another agent. It is not that way. You have only one agent to install. In console, it is again device hardening policy server. It is VPN server. It is file server. It is mail vigilance server. It is endpoint control server, and it is a proxy server. So you don't need to put multiple hardware server or multiple server operating systems with client access licenses with this. And the storage is of course memory. It starts from 4 terabyte and it extends to up to 128 terabyte as per your requirement. On cloud, again, agent does the same thing, console does the same thing, only the storage is shifted to cloud. So if you have large files to handle like AutoCAD, SolidWorks, it is preferable that you have on-premise deployment. If you have smaller files to handle and if you have multiple locations or multiple remote users working across the country or world, then you should put it on cloud. So either of that is possible. So this is the black box, how we made it. Then we wanted to make it single hardware, single software, single agent, and we made it like that. So it takes care of multiple hardware, multiple software, and multiple agent, and it works and replaces them. So now we will understand in the same topic, what is black box. We will understand the components of black box. So what are the solutions BLACKbox offers? So BLACKbox offers, first is IT policy enforcement. Let me give some examples. See, as an organization, you know that certain files or certain folders are accessed department-wise, like account people access account data, sales people may not access account data. So you need that kind of organizational policies. You might want that your user should not be the administrator. There should be only one administrator in the system. You might want that your user should be accessing certain specific applications only on their computers. You might want that certain users can access VPN, certain users cannot access VPN. So IT policy enforcement, how you make it. Then normally we have to put one hardware server, we have to install domain controller, Active Directory, Windows Server license on that. And then we have to install client access license, and then we can enforce the IT policies. You don't need to do all these things. In BLACKbox, it is inbuilt and it works as IT policy enforcement without any additional hardware, software, or agent. Then what it does is it minimizes the data scatteredness. So many times what we do is we want to centralize the data. So we have storage, either on premise or on the cloud. And then we ask users to save data on premise or on the cloud. Many a times it does not happen and users are ignorant or negligent and they don't do that. And then as an enterprise, its interest in data centralization is completely at the mercy of the users. If users follow and store the data on central location, then the data is centralized. Otherwise, it remains scattered if users continue to save it on their individual computer PCs. So BLACKbox works as a minimizing tool, for data scatteredness. We will see how it works. Then remote application access and work from home. So we have all in pandemic seen that work from home was a requirement. Of course, now the companies have multiple users working remotely across locations. So our legacy applications like Tally, SAP, this kind of legacy applications needs to be accessed by the users. So right now, either if we want to give access to remote users of our legacy applications, most of the times what we have to do is we either give them RDP, for which we again have to invest in a server. We have to install terminal server license. We have to take RDP CALs, or we have to create the infrastructure of Citrix, or we have to use AnyDesk or TeamViewer, which is extremely slow and internet dependent. So remote access application, again, we need another hardware, another software, which we don't need in BLACKbox. We just have to take the add-on of the BLACKbox and then it works fine. Then another thing which is dual profile for BYOD environment. Unlike large enterprises, SMEs cannot afford to give laptops to their all users. So most of the times the users use their personal laptop for their work. And in that case, in that laptop, personal data is there. In that laptop is enterprise data is also there. And enterprise wants that its enterprise data is properly maintained and it is not having any data breach or integrity issues. So BLACKbox also helps organizations to create dual profile on the personal laptop. So one profile is enterprise profile, another profile is personal profile. On enterprise profile, all IT policies are enforced. On personal profile, IT policies are not enforced. So this is another solution which BLACKbox does. Then data recovery after accidental or intentional data deletion, that is what BLACKbox does. Data recovery after ransomware attack, that is what BLACKbox does. Data recovery after disaster or hardware failure, that is what BLACKbox does. Data recovery after laptop loss. In case laptop is lost, we can have another laptop and we can restore all the data. We will see how it works. Then data leakage prevention over USB is what BLACKbox does. It also works data leakage prevention over email attachment and BCC, data leakage prevention over internet, and productivity monitoring. These are the solutions offered by BLACKbox, and this is integrated solution. You don't need a cloud backup agent extra. You don't need a backup agent extra. You don't need an endpoint control to control your USB. You don't need a DLP agent to sniff your emails. Nothing. It is just single software, single hardware, single agent, and all these solutions are available to you. So this is basically a definition of BLACKbox, which we call it. And if it is placed on the cloud, things remain same. It just is in the cloud and you have accessible from anywhere. So now let us start understanding enforcement of standard IT policy. As I have explained, enterprise wants to enforce enterprise IT policies as they grow. Many a times enterprises customers want them to have standard IT policy as a part of their national non-disclosure agreement or compliance agreement. So nowadays MSMEs, in order to win the bids from government or from large enterprises, they should have very standard IT policy. They should be complying with all data security and protection compliance parameters. So how do they enforce the IT policy? So currently, if they want to enforce the IT policy, there is a high licensing cost. You need to have server license, you need to have hardware to create domain, you need to have Active Directory, you need to buy client access license, and then you need a person to do all these things and maintain all these things. So current solutions are, one, they require different hardware, different software. It has a high licensing cost. It is very complex because you have multiple hardware, multiple software involved in that. And when the user is out of your network, let's say user is on airport or user is on, then probably that user is not in the domain and probably the IT policies are not as effective as it should be. So enforcement of standard IT policy has its own problems. Now, how they are affecting the organization. So then you have difficulty in integrating multiple systems. If you do not have policies, there could be a chaos. Salespeople are seeing accounts people are seeing design data. By mistake, something is gone. There is nobody accountable. And there is no control or less control on the remote user. So these are the consequences. Now, if we want to use BLACKbox, then BLACKbox does it. BLACKbox actually withdraws the admin rights from the user as soon as the agent is installed. BLACKbox can give user-wise, department-wise file and folder permissions. BLACKbox is also a VPN, blind VPN server. We will see that how it works. And BLACKbox also provides application controls. So now we will understand how you enforce standard IT policy. And for that, I request our technical team to connect to a live BLACKbox, and we will see how these policies can be deployed. So can we connect to the BLACKbox console, please? So this is a login page of BLACKbox. It is available on a browser. You can access it from anywhere. Then connect. You can manage the BLACKbox console from anywhere over browser. So go to desktop part. Go to take one user. So here, let's say if you see this, let's go to the policy part first. Yeah, so here you can see administrator rights are withdrawn. We don't have a tick mark here. Okay, so that would be very important to know. Then apply policy means whatever is the organization's policy, you can apply it here. You can close this. Then you can see application controls. So let's say whatever number of applications are installed on users' computers, they are written over here. So you can allow or deny. So let's say if you want me to use Tally, Word, Excel, Outlook, then I'll be able to use that only. If you want other user to use AutoCAD, SolidWorks, whatever, then you can use only that. So this is how we can enforce the IT policy. Go to VPN one. You can also define the VPN here itself. You don't need to give credentials of the VPN to the user, and that's why we call it blind VPN. So user does not need to enter any credentials. We can just configure it here, and the client agent which is installed on the user's computer will automatically connect the VPN. So, and then you can define which folders will be accessed by the user, which folders will be accessed by the users. So here you can see that this account guy, so he has access to accounts folder, GST folder, and what. So this is how you can define very tight policies on your users, what applications he will use, whether he will be the admin of the system or not, whether he can access VPN or not, which folders he will access. So everything you can define over here. So this is about enforcement of the policy. We will keep this particular console open like this. Rajendra, can you give me the screen back? So now we will see the another part, and then we will connect to the laptop or desktop, and we'll see how it works. So here, what we have seen is there are very simple console. You can configure entire IT policy for a user in less than 10 seconds. Just click it, whether he is admin or not, what applications you want, just tick mark it, whether he will access VPN or not, just use VPN credentials, and it's all done. Another problem it solves is data scatteredness. So here we know that when data is scattered, it is difficult to back up. It is difficult to manage. So most of the times I give an example that there are hundreds of marbles scattered on the floor. So it is very difficult to protect them from loss or theft. But if those marbles are placed in one central jar, and then we protect it, then it is very easy to manage it. It is very easy to protect it from theft or loss. So data scatteredness, when we want to solve, most of the solutions are like user can save data on the central location as well as on his own computer. So it is all as the mercy of the users. Most of the traditional solutions cannot deal with data scatteredness, and especially on the laptop. So we will see how BLACKbox does that on data scatteredness part. So the consequences of data scatteredness is low confidence backup system. If your data is scattered, your backup is low confidence. You have a lot of data duplicated because a lot of data is saved on multiple locations, and there would be underutilization of storage equipment. If users do not use the storage equipment in which you have invested, it is definitely underutilization. So now what BLACKbox does, then BLACKbox, without having, it has inbuilt facility that it auto mounts the drives which are given to the user. It does not allow user to save data on his computer. And it creates one offline folder in the laptop in which only the user can work. So we will see how it is configured, and then we will see how it works. So let's say, Rajendra, can we go to the console, please? So here, let's say this is an account user, and we have given him access to common folder, account folder, GST folder. And inside the policy, we have defined that he does not have access to local resources, like we have blocked his local resources. So now this policy is set. He is not the admin. He doesn't have access to local resources. He has access to certain applications like Tally, Word, whatever. He has access to certain folders only on the network, and he has access to VPN, or he does not have access to VPN. So this policy is defined. Now we will see the impact of this policy on the users, how it goes. Yeah, can we connect to a desktop first, and then we'll see laptop. So now we'll first verify whether this user has a BLACKbox agent installed or not. So yes, BLACKbox agent is installed. Now we'll verify whether this user is an admin of the system or not. He's not. You don't see any administrative tools here. Now we'll see what is available in his My Computer. So if you see here, because we have not allowed local resources, those local resources are not visible themselves. So no C drive, no D drive, only those folders. Now these folders are either on cloud or these folders are on BLACKbox. And these folders are basically available from BLACKbox. It has auto mounted these folders. So now we will try to create one file and we'll try to save it on the local resource. We want that data scatteredness should not happen. So we'll just create one file, save it, try to save it on desktop. Try to save it in documents. Now try to save it on a BLACKbox drive. So it is allowing to save the data. So this is how we can minimize the scatteredness. This is how we have basically minimized the scatteredness, and we have also made sure that user is under the policy. You know, there is everything enforced on the user. So this particular computer has policies also inbuilt. Yeah, Raja, can you give me the screen back, please? So having seen this policy part and forced centralization part, we'll move to the next part, which is remote application access. Now, let's say we'll take question answers later. If you have any problems, you can please interact with Prasanna. I think few people are raising hand. So yeah, so remote application access. Now you have seen that data can be accessed. Now how we access applications remotely? Okay, and in case we want applications to be accessed remotely, then what are the problems? You know, you need a hardware on which you either use Citrix or remote desktop or in Uvica, and then you have to provide a lot of bandwidth. Then once you provide remote access, you need to secure it, and it would be a problem. We know that most of the backdoor attacks happened, you know, in Corona time was through these remote access tools. So the consequences are, number one, that high cost of hardware in case we want to provide remote access, and risk of ransomware. Now, how BLACKbox solves these problems? So BLACKbox is basically bandwidth frugal. You know, it just transmits keyboard and mouse clicks. We'll see how. It is very hardware light. It does not require very high resources. It is very integrated because you can enforce data leakage prevention policy from other modules of the BLACKbox. It is only accessible over VPN, which is super secured, and you can have any device access. Means from any device you can access your applications through browser also. So now we will understand how these enforcement of the policy, how forced centralization, and how remote access happens on a laptop which is not in the network. So we will see that now. Rajendra, can we connect to the laptop? So now we'll connect to the laptop. First, we'll see whether the agent is installed on the black box or not. Yeah, it is installed. Now we'll see whether this laptop user is an admin of the laptop or not. He's not the admin of the laptop. He's not the admin of the laptop. Now we will see what is accessible to him on this laptop. This laptop is away from the network. He's remotely working. So here, if you see, you don't see C drive, D drive of a laptop. Here you see a professional.am drive, which is a secure drive created by the agent on the laptop's hard disk only, so that if user is offline, he can work on this drive. Now, in case the user wants to access the network drive on which other users are also working, he has to just click on black box icon, then click on VPN. This is a blind VPN. If you see here, user is not using any username or password. He just has to click on connect. Those username and password are already entered in the console. And as soon as the VPN is connected, so now whatever username and password credentials are entered in the black box console, they will be used on the fly, and the VPN will be connected and the network drives will be mounted automatically. So right now this user is away from the network. He has access to his offline folder created by the agent. At the same time, he is connected to VPN without knowing username and password and even the server address. And he has now got the access to all the network drives which are allowed to him. So this is how a private cloud is created for this particular user, and this particular user can collaborate with other users as well as he can work on his offline drive. So both are possible. Now we will see how remote access happens. So now in the black box, there is something called black box access application anywhere. So we just click on that. Now this particular remote access is a virtualization tool. So let's say we have virtualized Tally, we have virtualized some other HRMS software. And if we see this, as soon as we connect to this application, virtually the shortcuts are loaded on the desktop of a laptop. On this laptop, Tally is not loaded. On this laptop, that HRMS system is not loaded. But they are virtually loaded from the black box, from the server of the application, and user can very easily work. So this is an agent-based application virtualization tool, and in which user can work seamlessly without having to invest in Citrix or remote desktop or having to spend money on RDPCal. It is inbuilt. You just need to have add-on licenses in black box. That's it for the remote access. So this is how this software. Now, in case in emergency, the user wants to access remote access application without having an agent. For certain users, you can allow it and they can do it from browser also. So if we log off from here, this agent-based remote access. Now we will open a browser. Then we'll log on to remote access black box. The user should have that username and password. Click. Now in the browser, Tally and remote access would be opened. And then the user can work on Tally from the browser itself, or he can work on ESSL from the browser itself. So this is how Blackbox helps enterprises to give remote access to its users when they are working away from the network. And this is not, it does not require any other agent. The same agent serves as everything: policy enforcement, as force centralization, as this particular AAA, everything it serves as. So this is how we have solved the problem of remote access without adding or requiring any additional hardware, software, or licenses, just like it is required in traditional solutions like terminal server license, RDPCal, and whatnot. Now we will see the next part, which is being solved by Blackbox. That is BYOD profiling. So it is a dual profiling. So normally when we want to use BYOD, there are risks that data leakage can be possible. If I'm using my personal laptop to access enterprise data, organization has no control on my personal laptop. how to back up the data. On my personal laptop, there would be GBs and GBs of my entertainment data. How we segregate certain data in enterprise and not. We might at the most advise user to work in a specific folder, and then we map that specific folder with some cloud backup or backup solution. But what if user does not work in that particular folder which is mapped with your backup? Then entire purpose is defeated. So there has to be a dual profiling solution in which there are two profiles. One is professional, another is personal. And in personal profile, what we need to do is we can allow whatever user wants to access. In enterprise profile, enterprise data is saved, VPN is configured, and applications are restricted. The user is able to work only in the secure drive, so he cannot scatter the data, and only that secure drive is mapped with the backup agent. So the agent can take the backup of only the enterprise data. Agent does not have to take the backup of GBs and GBs of the personal data. And user will not be able to save data outside of that particular folder because the policy is in place. So BLACKbox also provides a solution of dual profiling, and that is very useful in BYOD environment. So this is something which is we wanted to discuss. Now we'll go to the next part, work from home. Again, the same thing. If we want to have work from home, then again data leakage possibilities are there. The same use case of Duo or the company given laptop can be extended for work from home. On work from home, when user is working, he does not have access to any other applications except whatever is allowed, and the user can work under the control of the policies of the enterprise, and through blind VPN, remote application access, auto mounting of the folders, and force centralization, user can work from home, and enterprise is assured of its IT policies and data security. Now, another point which we solved is in a SME, it is very common problem. People accidentally or intentionally delete the data, and then we have to recover the data after the deletion. Most of the times MSMEs want to do it, and then they require some solutions, like data deletion, recovery software. So again, you need one more software. Again, you need one more agent to do it. Again, this is completely ironed out here. So the consequences of accidental or intentional deletion is that loss of business continuity. Now, how do we solve? So BLACKbox has a technology called active recycle bin. Now, what does it do? So whenever user deletes the data, even if he shift deletes the data, it is captured in the active recycle bin of BLACKbox. It could be on cloud, it could be on BLACKbox, on premise. And when the administrator wants to recover that deleted data, they can. Another important point is how we identify the user who has deleted the data, because sometimes user do it intentionally, and if organization is not able to understand who is doing it, then he can do again and again just for mischief purpose or just with all malified intentions. So here BLACKbox can also capture the user who deleted the data, and we will see now. Rajendra, can we connect to one desktop computer? We'll actually delete the data with shift delete command, and then we will try to recover the data. So this is a user. He has got network drive. On this network drive, there are so many people. And then shift delete it. So he gives shift plus delete command. So now this data is completely deleted. This data is completely deleted. Now, how do we recover it? So as an organization, we can connect to BLACKbox console. There is some user called active.recyclebin. This particular console, we can log in. It will lead us to active recycle bin, which captures the data deleted from the network. We'll go to recycle bin on the network. And we know all this data is deleted, which is captured, which is visible on the screen. We can just cut this data and paste it back to the place where it was deleted. That's it. It's very easy to recover the data. No need to install some recovery software and run it on the hard drive and wait for hours, nothing. Just do it in this time. Now we want to know who has done it. So we can again go to the BLACKbox console. We go to file modification log. We select event as delete event for given date. We select the path from which the files were deleted, and we view the data. So here you see account executive user has deleted the data from IP address 141, and it is completely logged. So we can identify who has deleted the data. So we are solving a problem. If somebody is trying to create disruptions in the enterprise, we can very well catch him and take actions. And if somebody has deleted the data accidentally, then we can recover it and we can make sure that organization does not lose business continuity. So this is about the data loss by deletion. We will move to the next slide. Data recovery after ransomware attack. So mostly organizations have firewall and antivirus, and they are under impression that they are very well secured. But there is a concept of 0 day. A new ransomware or new virus is launched. The antivirus and firewall systems take time to identify, to understand, to detect this particular virus, and it could be 2 hours to 2 weeks. Meanwhile, if the virus or ransomware affects your network, you are not protected by the firewall or antivirus on especially 0 day. And then consequences are loss of business continuity. It could be commitment of default because you have lost the data, and it could be uncertain data recovery also. You are not sure. How BLACKbox solves it? So BLACKbox works as a plan B. You have to have a kind of antivirus firewall with you. At the same time, BLACKbox has its own hardware structure on cloud as well as on the on-premise. And that hardware structure is divided in 2 parts. One is primary chamber, another is hidden chamber. Now, hidden chamber is logically disconnected from network. And the primary chamber is the one on which the users work. And this BLACKbox actually runs one DC-DC protocol, disconnect, connect, disconnect, connect protocol. What it does in that. So users are working. Now this is off working hours. So BLACKbox first disconnects itself from the network. Then it connects itself to hidden chamber. It has to connect to the hidden chamber because hidden chamber is logically disconnected. So when BLACKbox primary chamber connects to the secondary hidden chamber, it is always disconnected because it follows DC-DC protocol. Then whatever data is modified in the primary chamber is captured and transferred to the hidden chamber in different versions. Then again, DC-DC, disconnect, connect, then disconnect. Then hidden chamber disconnects from the primary chamber, and primary chamber then connects back to the network. So by this DC-DC, what happens is the backup data or the versions of the old versions of the data is never visible on the network. So if ransomware strikes, it will at the most destroy the data on the primary chamber. It will not have any connection with hidden chamber, and there is a process of restoring the data from the hidden chamber. And by doing so, you can maintain your business continuity. So this particular problem is solved very innovatively at the hardware level. Now we will go to the next part, which is data recovery after disaster, hardware failure, and laptop loss. And before that, I would like to request Prasanna to run an opinion poll. We would like to know how is it going at this point of time in the webinar.
Sir, opinion poll as in about forced data centralization, VPN, and application control policies.
Yeah, you can start first opinion poll.
Okay, thank you, sir.
And as my instructions, it will go one by one in that order.
Okay, sir.
I request all of you to take this opinion poll to let us know how is it going. Yeah, so as we see, 100% of the attendees, think that, forced centralization is a solution. 10% of the attendees believe that work from home policy is something where you don't want to compromise. 10% about withdrawing administrative rights. 10% is allow specific and required applications, and 70% of the people want all the policies. Yeah, that's good to know. Prasanna, can we run another poll, please? So now this particular poll is about data deletion. I request all of you to please help us with your understanding. We see about the deletion and identification of the employee who deleted the data. So it is also considered very important by most of the people in the audience. Now we will continue with the next part of it, which is disaster recovery after disaster, data recovery after disaster, hardware failure, and laptop loss. So what if there's a disaster? What if our hardware fails? What if the hardware fails? How do we do that? So BLACKbox has the same agent which is installed, also can take the backup on the cloud. You can take the backup on BLACKbox cloud as well as you can take the backup of any standard cloud like Amazon S3 or Azure or Google. You don't need another cloud agent to be installed. It is a single cloud agent, and it also acts as a cloud backup. And not only that, but also what it does is that it makes sure that you get the report also. Most of the time we don't get report. We don't know, admins don't have visibility on what is happening. So when you have this kind of agent, it also generates a report and notifies. So we will see how it goes. So I request technical team to show the dashboard. So let's say, for example, you have servers, you have BLACKbox, application servers, you have BLACKbox, you have laptops, and you have configured its backup. So now this is a dashboard where we can see this particular backup. So if you see here, all the laptops will be listed over here. So we can see that total data size is 15 GB. And we can see which user is working on which file. So let's say if this is Ravindra Kumar, we can connect to that. You also get report by email also. So now let's say Ravindra Kumar, he has got a total, it is successful. The last backup happened, just now, for 2-3 hours back. A size of the data is 674 MB in enterprise part of his laptop. And the change data was just 85.13 KB. Only 2 files were transmitted 3-4 hours back. Rest backup is done. So this is very, very useful. And this agent, you don't need another agent to take the backup. This agent only takes the backup. It can be on cloud, any cloud, which is supporting S3 or kind of protocols. So this is about the disaster or that kind of thing. In case you want data redundancy, the black box also comes in twin device form. So you are supplied with 2 devices and they are redundant failover. So if one device fails, another device is available. So this is about what we say data loss prevention. So what we saw data loss prevention from deletion, ransomware, and disaster. So now we will go to the next part, which is about data leakage prevention over USB. So normally we have to install an endpoint control agent to control the USB. If we don't do that, then there are consequences of data leakage, default on confidentiality agreement. Now, what BLACKbox does, you don't need another agent. The same agent works as an endpoint agent. And it has an amazing 3-layer protection on your USB. So let's say if you want that out of your 100 users or 50 users or 25 users, you want that 50% of the users or 60% of the users, they should be accessing USB only for keyboard, mouse, like non-mass storage devices. Then even if they insert any USB port, they'll be able to use only keyboard, mouse, printer kind of non-mass storage device. So you don't have to really monitor them because they can't do anything. Now let's say you have some users who are using dongles, for connecting internet or for accessing some software. There are HASP dongles from AutoCAD and all that. So they need to have that dongle to be able to use that software, no problem. Then you can have inward only or read only kind of access of that particular read only or that kind of access, So when you have read only kind of access, user can read whatever is there in that particular USB drive, but user cannot transfer any confidential thing on the USB. Let's say you are a construction company and you want site photos to be added by the users, and they come with the pen drive on the photo with photos. No problem. They can only invert the data. They cannot outward the data. And third possibility is they can access USB port with report. So in case you want to allow 1 or 2 users to access USB to even outward the data, no problem. You will have a log. So if there is any breach of confidentiality by that particular user, as per the employment agreement, organization will have a proof and they can take the action. We'll see how it works. Yeah, can we go to the another part, please, USB part? So we want to see the USB part. So here we'll go to USB. So here you can see that both read and write are blocked. So only keyboard, mouse type of things would work. Can we look at other possibility? If we just change this block to allow, it will have only inward only. And if we change both as allowed, then they can outward it also, but the report will go and you can configure to whom that report will be received. So it is very simple, and you don't need another agent on your computer system, user's computer system. Yeah, then there is another system which is about the emails. So users can also take the data on email. We'll see that. Yeah, can you give me the screen, please? And there is another point, which is blind carbon copy. People can take away the data on blind carbon copy also. So most of the times when you want to have that, then you need to have another DLP agent for email specific part, or you need to have a mail server which acts as a layer. Nothing. It is all inbuilt in BLACKbox. It is single. Then consequences are, of course, DLP. If you can't stop data leakage, a breach of confidentiality can happen. You can be competitively exploited. And how BLACKbox solves. So let's say you have G Suite, or you have Office 365 or GoDaddy kind of email server. The BLACKbox will have a layer between the user and the your host. And then you can define whatever vigilance policy you want on the email exchanged by the user, in or out. And by doing that, you have a maximum control, minimum monitoring approach. So means if you want that 50% of my users should not be able to send mails out, they don't need, then don't monitor them, just have a policy. Two, let's say out of these users, they can send emails, but they should not be able to send attachment, or they should be able to send it to certain parties only. Or they cannot send BCC, or they can send BCC, but it is reported. Everything is possible. So you can make sure that your users are not able to leak the data or misuse the email system to leak the data. Then another possibility of data leakage problem is over internet. Your users might just leak the data. Now for that we require firewall or DLP solution. Again, firewall works when user is in the firewall network. When he is out, again the controls are so diluted. So when user is, let's say, on the airport or home, how you make sure that your confidential data lying on his computer is protected? So we'll see how. Another is that you cannot really block the internet on users' computer system, because internet is a resource and users want to use it for research or business development. And if you don't allow them to do that research and business development, then they can't work. So it is very important to set a balance, like you have enough restrictions so that users cannot steal your data or leak your data. At the same time, you have to give enough liberty to the user to access the internet as a resource. So how it works? So there is a technology which we have patented, is Happy Hours technology, in which what happens is the user is accessing normally enterprise grade sites which are not having any data exchange or exfiltration possibility. So we can make a list of websites inside the BLACKbox which users can access while data is accessible with them. Now let's say user wants to access something which is not allowed to him by the organization. Then he has two options. One, he goes to the management and asks for the access. Management is reluctant because they don't want to give access to such websites where data can be exfiltrated. Two, user cannot do his work. So here what we have done is, this Happy Hours is something which makes sure that user is having enough restrictions while he has access to data, and he has enough liberty while he does not have access to the data. And we'll see it practically now. Yeah, can we go to the Happy Hours part? No, go to the client here. So now this particular user which we are connecting is a project engineer, and he has to use internet for his research. At the same time, he's handling very confidential drawings or designs which organization does not want him to be able to leak it. Now, what we need to do here. So let's say, for example, I'm going to ask answer about Mr. Kawa. Biggest challenge is WhatsApp. Yes, you are right, and this will be resolved here. So now let's say this particular user is having BLACKbox installed. Agent is installed. Can we check? Agent is installed. Okay. Now just check what data is accessible to him. So he has access to all the confidential designs, drawings over here. They are all drives are mounted. Now let's see what he can do in internet. Go to hdfcbank.com, which we have allowed. in the enterprise. So HDFC Bank is open. Now go to dropbox.com. It is not. Go to web.whatsapp.com. It is not allowed. Now, so user cannot access certain websites which are not allowed by the enterprise, and he can use his data. Now, let's say he wants to access WhatsApp for some genuine reason, or he wants to go to Dropbox for some genuine reason. He cannot every now and then go to the management, okay, to allow it, and management won't be interested in allowing it. So here there is an on-demand internet, which we call happy hours. So you will right click on the black box icon, happy hours. So now the internet is available to him. So he is able to access everything he wants. Let us see. Now go to dropbox.com. So dropbox.com will open. It is opening. In another tab, try to open drive.google.com. In another tab, try to open web.whatsapp.com. So this WhatsApp is opening. Google Drive is opening. What is happening to Dropbox? It is also opening. I think it is very slow or what? So Dropbox is also opening. Now we are worried that user can take away the data on WhatsApp, user can take away the data on Google Drive or on Dropbox. Now let's see what data he has access to. He doesn't have access to data. So he can freely use WhatsApp, Google Drive, whatever. He can download whatever he wants, but he cannot upload anything. Now, after completing that research work or communication work, he can again go to black box icon, turn off happy hours. So again, the data folders will be mounted, and again, the internet restrictions will apply. So user has all liberty to access whatever he wants, and enterprise has all security that its data will not be leaked. So it is like a room has two doors. One door opens to data, another door opens to internet. When door to the data is open, door to internet is locked, and when door to the internet is open, door to the data is locked. So this is how it works. And the last point which we have solved on black box part is about monitoring. So can we go to the monitoring part? Many a times people are working from home. Organizations want to know about their productivity. So we call it playback office. So it captures the screen of your laptop user or your black box or desktop user, and then uploads on the black box, which you can play back, and you can keep those screens as long as you want, 3 months, 2 months, 1 month, whatever. So let's say we will do it for this, and let's say we want it for account executive or whichever user. So see, all these screens are captured. So in case there is a fraud, in case there is a productivity issue, we can very well use this. Yeah, can you please give me the screen back? So what we saw is how we solve the problem of data leakage over internet. Then we have seen the productivity monitoring problems also, and we can see how Blackbox solves them. So basically, this is entire solution, and over 15 years of understanding of MSMEs, we know what problems they have. They cannot manage so many multiple systems. They don't have stable IT team. Many a times they have IT team, but they don't have enough resources. So here there is a single software, single agent, single storage, and you have everything done. Policy, to data loss prevention, to data leakage prevention, to work from home, to remote application access, everything, whatever you require in IT. So this is all about on our maker's take. Now I'm going to take the questions. So we have got a question from Mr. Jain. Does BLACKbox support IMAP email settings for Microsoft Business accounts? Yes, it supports. I will explain how it works. Just a moment. See, BLACKbox, how it works. We will see how it works. So this is your O365 server. This is your user. Now you want to control this user for DLP. Okay. So what you need to do is this particular user, whatever client is using, either he is using IMAP or using POP. You have to enable POP here on O365. It is possible. There is a black box in between. It will poll, and instead of putting username and password in this particular system, you will put username and password in the black box console for every user. Black box will poll O365, get the emails, and deliver it to the user either on IMAP or POP, whatever way you want. It will deliver it. It will ping the emails over POP protocol from O365 and then deliver it to the user. So user can poll the emails either on IMAP or on POP. So user is absolutely fine. If this black box is on cloud, it also acts as your mail distribution server on cloud. If this black box is in premise, then you can connect over VPN and get your emails. And in between, because there is a black box, you can have all the vigilance. So let's say if this user is not allowed to send emails outside of your domain or outside of your network, whenever he tries to send the email, he cannot send email directly to the O365. He can send email to BLACKbox, which BLACKbox does not allow because it knows the policy. If it is allowed, then only it will give it to the O365 server to further deliver it to the world. Similarly, if any email is coming in, and if you want that it should be copied, if any email is received by a user, it should be copied to someone else. So all these things can be very well managed. So yes, BLACKbox can deliver the emails in IMAP as well as in POP. But yes, while sourcing the emails from the journal account of O365, it will use POP protocol for technical reasons. So I think I have answered this question. Mr. Deepak Kawa is asking, it is support O365 account email also? See, it supports anything which supports POP. So not only O365, anything which supports POP, as I have explained on the whiteboard. Yeah, any other questions? We are slightly up on our, yeah, Mr. Lakshman is asking, does BLACKbox has built VDI in case WFH we give to the users? Does BLACKbox redirects the USB based check printing printers to WFH or VDI login? I'll first answer Mr. Kawa's question. No, it does not support Linux or Ubuntu. Yeah, about Mr. Lakshman's question, VDI, virtual desktop interface. No, BLACKbox is not virtual desktop interface. Please understand, BLACKbox is virtual application, virtualization solution. It is not virtual desktop interface. It is application virtualization. So I'll explain how it works. So we need to understand the difference between VDI and application. Let me explain how it works. So this is your application server. It could be your Tally server, it could be your SAP server, whatever it is. This is your black box. This is your user. When you want to opt for application virtualization, BLACKbox will require one desktop in between, on which the client of your application server would be installed. So if it is SAP here, it would be SAP client. If it is Tally here, it would be Tally client. You can have multiple application servers, no problem. You can have multiple application clients installed on this particular desktop. Now what it will do, whenever this remote user connects to the black box, this black box will connect to this particular client. It will not go to your application server, and it will virtualize this client and load this particular virtual client on user's computer as we have demonstrated. And then it will display the application. So this client being in local area network with the application server, it will be very fast. And whatever is reflected on this particular client, virtually it will be displayed to the user over here. So it is not a VDI, it is application virtualization solution. Yeah, any other questions? We can take one more question, please. Yeah, Prasanna, we can conclude the session, please.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for such a detailed and insightful session on BLACKbox. I would request everyone to fill the survey form to give their valuable feedback. They'll get the survey form when they log off from this session. Sudhir sir, I request you to give your concluding remarks for this.
Yeah, sorry, Sudhir sir. We have one question from Mr. Lakshman. What in case the user is from WAN? What would be the speed of the application? It would be very good speed because BLACKbox does not transmit the data. It only transmits the keyboard click and keyboard. It will only transmit the keyboard click and mouse strokes. Prasanna, please check Mr. Kava's number, and you
yes,
can.
Sir. I'll do that. Sudhir sir, can you please give us your concluding remarks?
Yes. Thank you, Vishalji, for providing this session and deep insights on the IT affairs of the organization. Hope all the participants also enjoyed and were able to get their queries and information that they are looking for. We would be happy to assist you if you have more queries and any more questions. You can drop your email to Prasanna, or you can also get connect to our local people at different locations. Thank you for your valuable time. Thanks once again.
Thank you very much.